slip your mind. Hey, walk around with your head up and your chest out. Be smart and let's go next week. You got me? Hey, who's out?
All right, baby. They came to our house, baby. We on the best day from us from last year. They came to our house. Let's show them. Whose house? Whose house? Whose house? Whose house?
We ready. We ready for y'all. We ready.
The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed by the host of this show are for entertainment purposes only. I repeat, this is not serious, this is not real. I am an untrained professional content creator who is freestyling this show. I do not encourage you to try this at home alone. Enjoy the show.
What up, guys? Welcome to episode 11 of Chicas Locas.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Cynthia, and I am here with my co-host Yolanda. And how are you doing this evening, Chica?
I'm doing great. I'm here with you to learn about mental resilience, and I look forward to the conversation. So let's go.
Doesn't it come at such a unique time? If you follow me anywhere on the Panelverse, you've probably seen some things in the last 24 hours that actually demonstrated what I was speaking about tonight. And it's interesting to me because we've had this live planned for over a week, and it's always unique how everything comes together.
Yeah, there's definitely synchronicities in our streams, topics.
For sure. So before we get started, let's greet the chat. Hello, Leah. How are you doing? We got a fake L in the house, but hey, I hope you're doing well. I appreciate you tuning in. I hope you hit the like button as you came in. We've got Hurricane Paro. Welcome. Hope you're doing well. No, I don't. I think Bex is doing well, but I haven't seen her today. But hopefully she pops up and graces us with her presence. And then, of course, we have Namaste the F away. Hey, girl, where have you been? Because I definitely could have used some of that Namaste the F away. So, you have any thoughts tonight on being resilient, a blueprint for a resilient mind?
Well, when you suggested the topic, it's not even a term that I was aware of. So once I started to look into what this was about, I was excited to talk about it. So thank you for even bringing up what mental resilience was.
You know, I was first introduced to that term, resilience altogether, from Margot. Of course, if you know Margot. Hello, Wizard. And I liked it. I loved it, and I just had the opportunity to see it again. What up, crew? I need you to give me a way to contact you, crew. When I open up the link, if you want to come put it in the back chat. As you know, this is my show tonight, but I do need to be in contact with you. So as I was doing research for tonight, I came across a quote from a gentleman by the name of Marcus Aurelius. I have personally never heard of him until I started this research. Have you heard anything about him, or do you know anything about him?
Marcus Aurelius is an emperor, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was considered one of the last of the 5 good emperors of Rome, which I just thought that was interesting. But he had a quote that I was really drawn to. And the quote goes, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength."
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was brilliant. Definitely fit with the topic tonight. And as I did a little bit more research, he wrote a book called Meditations, and it's a recording of notes, his private notes to himself. Like, bro, sometimes I started thinking, like, oh my gosh, what if one of my great grandkids finds one of my journals and publishes it someday? So I might need to start speaking a little bit more elegant. Like this could venture out into the world someday. But one of his beliefs is that there is a universal force, which is logos. It's running through and binding all things. Everything that happens in our life is good, and it is only our interpretation of the situation that deems it to be either bad or tragic.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that there's tragic, because like even for me today, I'm not just here as a voice behind the screen, but as someone who's lived through layers of trauma, and I've walked through, gosh, how do you say it, like a fire of abuse, and you know, we've all been buried under the weight of stress, and also carried the pressure of overwhelming responsibilities, whether it be in our careers or our personal lives. And I'm still standing, you know, and we're all surviving together, but growing stronger in ways I never thought possible. So I really am glad that we're talking about what mental resilience is and what you have to offer us on what you found out about it. Because I mean, this journey isn't easy, but it's something very powerful to learn about what mental resilience was and identifying what it was. And once I did start to look into it, I was on the right path. So thanks for pointing it out.
You're welcome. Angela says her kids will probably just sell off my stuff. You know, I'm not going to lie. I've gone to thrift stores and I've bought in people's journals. And I was thinking, how did nobody keep this person's random journal? And it would be like a journal that they didn't like write throughout the whole journal, but a few pages here and there. And so again, in me and my wild imagination, because I fill my pages up, I can imagine my kids donating them and some author somewhere buying them and whatever.
That's one of the tools that I've noticed that we talk about in our past streams and even in tonight's is the journaling is very helpful and beneficial in creating the mental resilience. I mean, when I read back in my journals, I see my patterns in it and I reflect upon it. And I'm like, wow, I'm so glad I'm not in that space anymore. But what I learned from it.
Well, tonight I definitely wanted to talk about this because like you said, there's the weight of stress. There's the weight of the world, of what it looks like in 2025 in real life, and on the social media, it can become very stressful. So tonight I wanted us to talk about what it takes to have a strong mind. Well, you can look at someone and you can see that if this is a person that goes to the gym, if they take care of their body, it's evident in the way that their appearance. However, you can't always tell if people are exercising their mind. And so I want to just go over the importance of that tonight in some ways that you can exercise your mind. And then, of course, as always, we will open up the panel and have love to hear from the audience. What are ways you strengthen your mind, and how do you develop your strong, resilient mind. So in the study, I realized that there is something called mental toughness and something else called emotional suppression. Have you ever heard of either of those?
No, come on, go ahead and break this down for me. I already like it.
I was like, what? So, mental toughness is the ability to face challenges, stress, and setbacks with resilience and clarity without losing your sense of self. And some of these traits will look like emotional awareness and a regulation, adaptability under pressure, confidence in decision making, and willingness to feel discomfort and still move forward.
Okay, I can, as you're telling me this, I can see why that would be issues that we see in people that join panels to have conversations, and where that's not a strength for them. But continue.
Well, the adaptability under pressure, I just think being a young mom, that when you have kids, when you're just trying to keep a roof over your head, there's a lot of situations that come. And it was through all of those obstacles and challenges in life, I learned to quickly adapt. Not because I wanted to be in the new place or the new environment or whatever that may have looked like, but I needed to quickly adapt in that situation, because that old situation that either I was comfortable in, familiar with, it was no longer. And somewhere along the line, I realized, and this is completely one of my my overlays right here, and that is everything is subject to change. You could have your day planned to the T. You could walk outside and have a flat tire. You could be driving to go get coffee and get pulled over. And the next thing you know, you got 5 traffic tickets. That's happened to me before. There's so many things that could happen. So you always have to be ready to adapt. For me, that was definitely one of the lessons that was able to help me most in any situation I found myself. Adaptability. Now, there's also on the other something that does look like mental strength, but it's not, and that is referred to as emotional suppression. And this is the consciousness or unconsciousness avoidance of emotional expression, often to appear strong or avoid vulnerability. And some of these traits look like bottling up feelings, avoiding emotional conversations, numbing or distracting from discomfort. And it often leads to burnout, resentment, or emotional disconnection. An example of that,
Okay.
example of that would be someone who is grieving but refuses to talk about it or cry about it because they believe strong people don't show weakness.
Right. They would say that would be being stoic.
And don't we live in a society that is like, man, you got to get it 24 hours a day, 365 days a week. You better take no days off. Get out there and get it. That's what real winners do.
Oh, yes. But I just recently saw my grandparents again, and that was one of his complaints about society. Right now, I'm laughing because he just complained about that society is so weak, that everybody's emotional, right? And that everyone's so sensitive. And I thought that was really interesting. And I asked him to break it down for me, but he was recognizing, in his opinion, what you just said, that's how society is. But, I'm also talking to a 90-year-old man that still hasn't quite gotten past his trauma in his life. So.
Well, there was a side note that said suppression may look like strength on the outside, but it can quietly erode mental health from within. I like the way it said that, quietly erode.
Yeah, that is kind of a powerful statement, because there's many layers to create erosion. on a person.
Mhm.
So I like that.
And just to be clear, mental toughness is about feeling your emotions, but not being ruled by them. Whereas I think the suppression is you're ruled by your emotions, because at some point you become, you can't hold it anymore. You can't control it. It just has to come out because you're going. It's not healthy for you to withhold it in.
Yeah, I used to do that a lot when I would get overwhelmed.
Mhm.
And because I had been holding so much in for such a long time, and it would take the tiniest thing, and I would call it purging, or like diarrhea of the mouth.
Mm.
And, I can see that.
Michael says suppression eventually just digs into the body and results in physical illness and diseases. Oh my gosh, Michael, it's like you're in my head. Get out of it now. Earlier when I was kind of going over this with Yolanda, I was like in my 20s. And if y'all think that I'm a feisty person now, you should have seen me in my 20s. And it wasn't uncommon for me to have interactions and disagreements and arguments with my significant other at the time. But I slowly started noticing, like, with every argument, I started looking older.
Mhm.
And I realized that being angry, getting angry over stuff that I couldn't control wasn't beneficial to me in my health and in my appearance. Like, it showed. It shows when I'm angry, it showed. And so that was something I really, and was it for vanity reasons? I'm like, bro, I don't need to be aging myself. That life will do that for me. So I like how Michael realized that, because it does result in physical.
Yeah, I mean, for me, through the pain and in my experience, I discovered the power of looking into neuroplasticity, and the brain's amazing ability to rewire and to heal and to adapt to the new structure that I wanted to create for it. So, are you familiar with neuroplasticity by any chance? Because I've been using that in our conversations in the past, but are you familiar with neuroplasticity?
No.
It's the brain's ability to change, adapt, and reorganize itself throughout our lives, um, based on experiences or emotions, behaviors, and thoughts, and even trauma. So, um, says once believed to be fixed after childhood, science has proven the brain remains malleable, able to form a new neural pathway and strengthen or weaken old ones, especially in response to intentional practice, learning, and healing. So, think of your brain as like a forest.
Mm-hmm.
The more you walk down one of the trails,
Mm-hmm.
like for example, like a thought, reaction, or habit, the more defined the trail becomes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So neuroplasticity is the process of creating new trails while letting the harmful or outdated ones fade away. Yeah.
So,
So,
Mike, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's what helps to recover from trauma or PTSD, anxiety, or depression. And so the things that I learned, were new habits and skills or emotional responses to things. And then we're going to go to the toxic part, but changing and limiting myself beliefs or toxic thought patterns, and healing from physical injuries or neurological conditions. So there's a lot to helping yourself to rewire your brain.
I think this is why I want to have this conversation, especially in today's times when we can just pick up a phone and numb ourselves out, and that slowly, decreases our brain activity, as we were learning about on the last show. Michael says, "I'm not in your head. I just read a lot of the, what's that word? Neurobiology.
Yes,
Of people."
neurobiology.
Is that similar to what you were just speaking of?
That's neuroplasticity. So the neurobiology is the study of the brain.
Oh, you need to hook up with the Ezra and how trauma shapes people and their relationships. Angela says that she's been eating a lot of organic vegetarian diet, and she hasn't been sick in over 20 years, and she hasn't seen a doctor. When we speak about the mind, I truly believe that the mind does have the ability, the capability, if it is strong and you control it, and you don't allow these negative thoughts, these intrusive thoughts to overtake you, you can heal yourself. You can keep yourself healed. When I worked in the medical field, there was this lady who came in at one time. She was 93 years old. She actually walked into the room and she helped me make the bed. Like Angela, she hadn't been to the doctor in years and years and years and years. And her family made her go get a checkup. And so, of course, she went and she got the checkup. And they're like, oh, my God, this. We're going to check you in. That's how she ended up in the hospital room with me. She helped me make her bed. And by the next morning, she had passed away. And I feel like once her mind heard that all of these now diseases or ailments or whatever medical terminology the doctors used, I think that her mind was defeated. This is all, of course, just my mind working and processing things. But I do believe her mind was defeated and she just gave up.
Well, you've got GT says, how would you create a new pathway practically? So I guess you have to recognize and interrupt your old patterns. So you'd have to notice your negative thoughts or your reactions or your self-talk. A good example would be like, I'm not good enough. Right? And you have to, let me see here, you'd have to pause and acknowledge them without judgment. So you'd have to, I'm saying you'd have to, but I guess I could suggest practice disrupting the patterns with the awareness that I see this thought, but I don't have to follow it anymore. And that's a really hard one because if you aren't happy with yourself and you've been telling yourself these terrible thoughts for most of your life, it really is not as easy to rewire and tell yourself to not think that way. A few streams ago, I had given suggestions on how to or maybe it was on mine. I think it was on one of my streams on different approaches on how to speak to yourself. You have to talk to yourself just like as you were encouraging a child who was learning something new. You know, you have to talk to yourself like that as well.
You're absolutely right, because that does come up later when we talk about the practices, because you can practice and build a stronger mind.
And you can replace with new empowering patterns of behavior. And you and I were talking about this earlier, which is not everybody recognizes what self-love is.
Oh, indeed. So when a child doesn't have their needs met when they are young, they will internalize it as self-hate and low self-esteem. So we're going to talk about that. You guys are hitting on some really good points that I'm not sure everybody shares with or chit chats with. But so before we get to what we can do to strengthen our mind, I want us to touch real quick on the challenges. Yolanda's already, spoke of the weight of stress. There's also information overload. I'm seeing a lot of people be like, I'm on what do they call it? Like they have too much coming at them at one time, like sensory overload. I've never heard people really use that a lot, but they're like, I'm in sensory overload right now. Stop talking to me. And I was like, okay, But I think there's always a lot of things coming at people. Uh-oh, Wizard says bullshit. Uh-oh. Can't wait to see what oh, I think he's referring to Michael because Wizard has some good stories. There's also, like you were saying, the unresolved trauma and limiting beliefs. And there is also mental fatigue from constant decision making or caregiving. That is something that touched with me because I will take care of somebody else before I take care of myself.
Right. That's why I mentioned earlier when I was doing a little bit of an intro about myself and my awareness to trauma and professional, personal, and my brain was overly stimulated and my body was exhausted and there wasn't good self-talk and the illness came. And once I started to do better self-talk and changed my eating habits and moving, to doing exercises and things like that, the body needs to do that. So like an example, and I gave one earlier, if somebody's always saying, I always fail, or I'm going to fail, instead of like every effort brings me closer to growth. So that would be a good example of how to change your self-talk and your self-doubt.
Every effort brings me closer to growth. Is that what you said?
Yeah. That's one thing that I tell myself. If I'm frustrated about something and I want to start doing that bad internal talk, and I wrote it down, every effort brings me closer to growth, instead of saying I always fail, because it changes the way that the neural networking of the brain reacts to the negative self-talk.
And we live in a society that's always saying you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But I like the way you said that, because you can always make an effort, no matter how old you are. You can still make an effort, which means there's always still room for growth. The last challenge that I found was moments of doubt when sharing your truth. That's interesting. That I was like, ooh, that's probably really, really hard on the internet, because we all know how the internet can be. You can get up here and, just for my example, from my own personal experience, speaking about my faith, my beliefs, like I came in here sharing it thinking, oh, this is going to be great. People are going to just love to hear the Christian woman speak. Holy, that was not been the case. However, because of my mental strength, I never doubted when I was sharing the truth, but I can understand how people could start to share their story and begin to catch some did I say resilience or like
resistance?
Yeah, resistance on it, and they could stop telling their truth, or they could even begin to doubt their truth. And that is why it's important, not only to the way that you self-talk to yourself, but the way you talk to others as well.
I agree. I had a similar experience. I decided that I wasn't really going to tell anybody what my faith system was. I love to learn about all different types so that I have a better awareness to educate myself on these different belief systems. But I had watched what had happened to other people on here. And when I would share some of these thoughts, it was always an insult, right? Oh, here comes somebody that is doing new age talk. And they would go along with the other insults that followed through. And I'm thinking, none of this stuff is new age. It's all ancient wisdom that is found in all corners of the world. And it's there for people that are doing the hard self shadow work on themselves. They'll appreciate it and they'll understand it. And it's a forever knowledge and information. And that's what I think we also battle with on here, Cynthia, is an awareness that there are people who do not see this life with spiritual eyes. So that I could see why it would be frustrating. in particular about sharing your spiritual faith with anybody here online.
Michael says the issue is following is people and grow from wisdom of others, the path of light, or from hitting a rock bottom point that stagnates is more painful than the unknown. And I think sometimes people fear the unknown and they are comfortable where they're at, even if it's comfortable in trauma. It's the lesser of the two. We know this, we're comfortable, we're familiar with it. That's unknown. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to stay here.
Well, especially if it happens to you when you're young and it stunts you in a way that you don't know the difference until somebody around you has that wisdom to share with you and helps, like reaching their hand and pulling you from the abyss into the light. And it took many of those hands reaching out for me, and I just could never see the light. I was like that scene in the Never Ending Story when Atreyu is stuck in that swamp on his horse. And did you ever watch the Never Ending Story?
No.
Oh, then you wouldn't know what I'm talking about. But it's a scene where he is in this swamp, and I can't remember what the swamp's name is, but that is part of the story of the swamp, is that it is this darkness and this sadness, and he's trying to tell the horse not to allow the sadness to consume him, but unfortunately it did, and the horse gets swallowed up into the darkness of this of that abyss. And I remember as a little child just bawling my eyes out, but understanding now that that is the symbolism of what we can do if we allow ourselves to get stuck in our own sorrow.
That is a beautiful illustration of that. I can see that, and that made me sad just thinking that somebody can get lost in their own sadness. And I think that for me, being someone I am, like, if you're sad, become unsad. One of the things that I have always done when I was faced with trauma, issues that, like, holy shit, I just feel like, I remember there was one time in my life, like in 1 week, like 3 of the most horrible things, that, like, from a death to like the end of a relationship to medical, the worst medical news I could ever get, like, came to me in 1 week's time. And I remember after the 3rd one hit, I said to myself, I'm not getting out of bed, because the second I put my foot down, the world is going to slap me back down. So instead of just dealing with that, I'm just going to stay in bed for the next 2 days. And like, I was literally scared to leave the bed because I was like, I can't deal with anything else. But I realized I can't stay in bed forever, but it's okay to take that mental break, but you can't stay in that mental break. If that's
the important part. So I want to hear what you did after that 2 days. I'm going to step away for just a moment, but I can still hear you. So I want to hear what you did after that 2 days.
Well, Angela says that's why she set up her goddess bath. Oh my gosh, Angela, every time I see your bath, and if you haven't seen Angela's goddess bath, please drop your post. I saw you post it not too long ago, but she's got the bathtub with the bear claw feet, my favorite type of bathtub, but it's outside. Like, she's surrounded by trees and nature, and it's beautiful. I wish that I had that type of bath. However, I do not. But one of the things that one of my my techniques and my go-tos that I did when I was younger, and I would probably still do it now if I felt that need, is I would always limit my time on I could be sad or I could be angry. I would I had this little formula. Like, if I was with somebody for a year and we broke up, I could be sad for 1 week. It was like for every year I got to grieve for a week. And so I had a formula based on what the situation was going on, and I would allow myself a certain amount of time. I could yell, I could scream, I could break things, I could drive by your house and throw eggs at your house. Whatever felt like felt I could do it. I gave myself permission to do it, of course, as long as it wasn't breaking the law. And when that time was up, and I'm talking, I would say you had until Thursday at 5 p.m. But the second it hit 5:01, I had to turn all of that off and get to work and to what it is I still needed to do. Did I need to find a new place to live? Did I need whatever it needed to be done? That was the time it started. And at first, I would take whatever how long I allowed myself. I would generally take that whole time up. But as the years went by, I'd give myself 3 weeks and I'd only need 10 days. I started realizing, but just giving myself that grace is what allowed me to get it all out, and I could move forward from that. I can't wait. Oh,
I'm
sorry. I didn't know you were back, but go ahead.
No, I was listening in on you, but I think that is something really great that you can pass on to others, is just giving yourself small achievable goals instead of making it something that you can't really finish the task immediately. Because some people have these ideas of grandeur and they can't really commit to it because the idea is so big.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
You know, I think that's really great that you shared that. And I'm sure you've probably passed that on to your kids and your grandchildren now too.
Absolutely. And even in now, like I've moved. I was telling someone earlier, I moved. I lived in one certain place for 17 years, knew that place like the back of my hand. And I'm in a new location in a new area, and I still have boxes everywhere. I've lived here 2 months now, but between working all the time, spending time with the family, and frankly, it's too hot to want to do stuff. There are just days I feel like, am I just going to live like a hoarder for the rest of my life? Like I've actually built a fort of my boxes. But
that's messed up.
But I was like, just have fun with it at this point. But I realized like I'm overwhelmed, but I said, okay, like just try to make it for this next hour. Like whatever you can do in this hour, clean the kitchen, unpack a box, organize the closet, set up the bath. Just you like, and after this hour is up, think about the next hour. Like there comes times when I have to break it down like that when it comes to things that I feel overwhelmed about. And I think that's like, don't put so much on yourself, break it down into smaller.
But it is important to be productive.
It is.
And not stagnant.
Absolutely.
And stationary. You know, I was in that position different times in my life, and I wasn't well when I was doing things like that. And it's because I also didn't feel well, but not recognizing at the time, who the hell knows what I was internalizing in the mind. And that's why I just felt so restless and tired as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, even though it's our mind, those intrusive thoughts aren't there for your benefit. And it was important for me to identify, is this thought that I'm having, is this helping me? Is this productive? Is this a God thought? Where did this come from? And once I realized this isn't that, I immediately knew how to get that thought out of my head. In the beginning, I used to have scriptures written everywhere, and I would just start repeating a scripture that I remembered. I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just parroting. But somehow over time, my mind began to be like, oh, this isn't healthy. But you know what you can think about? Your beautiful dog. You know, you can think about this beautiful tree. And I slowly but surely learned to recognize these thoughts and correct them.
Because I learned your brain is not broken. So it's a living and breathing system, and it has the power to regenerate and rewire with the right support and the environment and your intentions for yourself. And I'm so glad that I've given myself that grace, that I'm stronger than my past and I'm wiser than my pain. And each day, you know, you rise and you rise again. In hopes to, what is this new day going to bring me? What can I do with this day?
My first thought's always, today's a good day to have a good day. So we definitely touched on a little bit of the practices, but I just want to go over these real quick. Practice mindfulness. This is something I've heard you speak about. Quiet the noise, even if it's for 5 minutes a day. Quiet the noise.
Mm-hmm.
And be present in the moment. You know, there's so many times, and even now, I mean, I'm definitely not perfect. I could just like be sitting somewhere, even with my family or friends, and I could be thinking, I'd rather be at home
Well,
doing
think about it this way, Cynthia.
that.
What if you're sitting in front of a pond
Mm,
and the stillness of a pond?
mm-hmm.
It's soothing and it's relaxing in comparison to sitting there when it's windy and you're watching the waters be really choppy.
Mm-hmm.
So we are, there's a huge percentage of us that is water. So calming and soothing and quieting the body, to me, makes sense that it would help you also quiet the mind.
Mm-hmm.
But just visualizing that calm, still pond, that's one of the things that I start off with when I'm trying to quiet the mind.
I always start off with listening to the sounds, listening to the sounds of either my dogs. Like I used to have this dog that snored. And that was my favorite sound, was to hear him snore, because I always thought, I've given you such a good life that you can lay in bed without a care in the world and just take in the sounds. Another one is mindful breathing. And that's where you're going to focus on inhaling and exhaling. A lot of times I can see people start to hyperventilate and lose their breathing, their control of their breathing, and that's the worst.
Well, that's something that I practice every night, especially every night before I go to sleep, but all throughout the day, because the way you breathe has a lot to do with how the body's going to function as well. Even how you breathe out of your nose and how you breathe out of your mouth, and even breathing out of one nostril in comparison to both. Breath work is really important. And
Mm-hmm.
so is humming along with it as well. It helps. Just think of like one of those bowls, those meditation bowls that you hit and you tap,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
how it vibrates inside of the bowl. That's what we are. We're like an antenna. So the mindfulness of breathing and humming and sound is a big part of it. So I agree
Mm-hmm.
with you.
Another one is body scan meditations. And at first I was like, what is this? But as you know, I've been in a few car wrecks, and I always went to the same chiropractor because I trusted him. And he gave me a piece of paper, and he had taught me, he was like, you got to check your body every day for tightness. Don't check it for pain, because tightness always comes before the pain. And if you feel a tightness in your neck, your back, your hips, your shoulders, wherever, there were exercises to do it. But I also think about the not what is it, the Tai Chi's, and how they're so slow, but they make sure to move every single muscle in their body, and how to like move my toes and really just go internally there in that space of your body.
Yes, because the lymphatic system can get filled up with toxins. So Tai Chi helps the fluid and the energy move properly through the body. That's also what acupuncture is about.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know about those needles. They also have listed mindful walking. Well, with the dogs, of course, the girls need to go for their walks, but that is something like listening to nature, listening to the rustles of the trees, the leaves blowing. All of that brings about a certain calmness anytime I take a walk.
I enjoy doing my walks like that. I did a practice stream one day doing my walk, and I was watching it back, and I was like, "Yep, it's those trees and
Mm-hmm.
the wind blowing in those trees and moving or moving the body and feeling that warm air embrace me like a hug." It's important to move the body and not stay stationary.
when we talk about not getting lost in the darkness, like even stepping out in the light, that light can give you energy from the sun. Like that's a light source.
I feel
Mm-hmm.
intuitively that the sun is this realm's soul.
Mm.
So I try to align myself and imagine that that's what it looks like inside of me, because when I've been in the most meditative state, I see that within myself. It is the most beautiful thing. And so I can't help but see it like, okay, so this is this realm's soul. And I tap into it.
When I go for my annual checkup, because I'm not like Angela, I do go for my annual checkups like 3 years ago.
But you have a reason to. So.
Yeah. They told me my vitamin D was low, and they gave me a prescription for vitamin D pills or which ones I should take. And I remember thinking, I'm not taking that. I'm going to stop wearing sunscreen, and I'm going to spend more time out in the sun. Now people are like, oh my God, how can you go into the sun without the sunscreen? But I was like, no, like that sunscreen is hurting my vitamin D that I get naturally. So I did it. And of course, the next year I went back. They were like, oh, great, your vitamin D's up. Good. The pills are working. I was like, yeah. but
didn't you work nights?
Yes, I used to work nights.
Yeah, because my brother has that problem and he works nights. So he started to learn that he has to get his ass up and go out into that sun as well. I like that, Keith. In Latin, the name for sun is sol. You are absolutely right. I never tied that together like that, even though in Spanish it's the same thing. But intuitively, I just recognized, and it felt like it was the soul of this realm.
Another thing is sensory awareness. Choose one sense, either taste or sound, and focus fully on it. We were speaking of the trees. We're speaking of the birds. I swear the birds are talking like, oh my gosh, weather's about to get bad. Take off. Or the other day I went around and I could hear a lot of birds really upset. And I was like, these birds are upset. I wonder what's going on. And a cat was near their tree, and it was perched up like he was going to try to get one of them. So I do love to listen to that, but you can also think about food that you eat, like coffee, the smell of coffee, the taste of the coffee. When you eat a good steak, the smell. Like take all of those senses in and really just be present in that moment and realize what you're putting into your body, nourishing your body with.
I mean, this weekend I was with family and we were celebrating birthdays and stuff, and it was barbecues and cakes. And,
we got barbecue this weekend.
All of those delicious things, but I felt like shit a few days later. And so today is Wednesday, and I'm all about the salads, and fasting to get what nonsense I had put into my body. I could feel the difference, and I, had some pimples and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, my body was so good at detoxing that type of stuff that I recognize that when you put something in it that it shouldn't be there, the body will tell you.
Well, I'm preparing my body because on July 4th, the barbecue place is open for all you can eat ribs. So I'm preparing for us to have a good old time this Friday. And the last practice that I came across was journaling. As I spoken earlier, journal. I have 2 suitcases full of my journals. I started journaling in 2021? 2011. I forget. When did I think it was 2021. When did September 11th happen? Was it 2021?
No, girl, 2001.
Oh, 2001. I'm sorry. Well, yes. That's when I started journaling. And somewhere along the way, there was a fire in my apartments. But thankfully, my apartment did get burned. But when that happened, when that happened, I bought suitcases, vintage suitcases, and I put all my journals in there. So in case there's another fire, I can just grab the 2 suitcases, because even though I write in them and don't review them, I do plan to go back towards the end of my life and talk and read them with my grandchildren and talk about everything. So,
That's how you pass your history down. We just had that discussion when I saw my grandparents this weekend. My grandmother's way of journaling is photo albums and calendars, and that is our history, our family's history. And so my grandparents are up in age, and I hate to talk like this to them, but I'm like, have you really thought about which one of the family members will be the ones to receive the entire library, because that's the family's history. So that's good that you recognize that, and that you're also passing this down to your grandkids.
Every once in a while, I'll pick up one and I'll just open up a page like, oh, look, it's November. What was I doing in November? And there's always a story, and I'm like, what was going on? Oh my God, close this. And so it is interesting. So for what I hope we were able to convey here tonight is that it's not about silencing your thoughts, but observing them, and with a curiosity and compassion. Compassion for yourselves as well as compassion for others. However, if you don't understand how to love on yourself, how to have compassion for yourself, I'm not sure you could show that could come outwardly of you. So please take the time to develop these skills, and then things are set and protect boundaries. We've talked about this the last couple of weeks. Boundaries I try to set on YouTube, boundaries I have in real life, and I call them my non-negotiables, and I'll never negotiate them. They're not even up for negotiation. And for me, this is my safe space, and this is how I am able to stay mentally strong. As we spoke about earlier, watch your inner dialogue. I like how Yolanda said every effort is bringing me closer to growth. Takeaway I can't with I'm learning, I'm developing. I'm going to master this. Nurture your mind with reading, learning, and surround yourself with voices that can elevate, like Chicas Locas. The first thing I do, because I always grab my phone first thing when I wake up, people are like, oh, that's a horrible habit, which it is. But the first thing I do is do my morning Sudoku. And I do feel like that is a way of waking up my mind for the day. I drink water. I go out and have at least 5 to 10 minutes of sunlight to wake up my body. And embrace discomfort. Again, I can't express to you that things will be uncomfortable in life, but it's okay. You're gonna come across the other side of it, and you're not gonna even be concerned about what's once was. NPC says, feed your mind with good thoughts. Absolutely. A lot of times when people see me, that they think, oh, Cindy likes confrontation. Cindy, she's very upfront and very aggressive with it. Like, she takes things head on. And this is something that came from my spiritual teachings of David and Goliath. I think that if you get something dealt with, again, it's dealt with, and I don't allow it to grow up earlier to grow up later in life, because this has always been a good message I used to teach my kids. Not dealing with the situation is dealing with the situation. So I think we will go ahead and open up the stream. If you guys would like to come up and either share with us some of the things that have helped you strengthen your mind, or even share with us things that perhaps maybe this is an area that I could really use some of that, and we could all work it out together. But please feel free to come on up. Yolanda, what are some things you have done? You've spoken about the your morning stretchings in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Walk.
How I start my days. It's really important for me to start my days off with thanks and gratitude that I'm here.
Mm.
And mornings are hard for me. They are painful, and so it usually takes me a good 2 hours. So I do a lot of stretching, and I take my time. And a big part of it too is drinking lots of water.
Mm.
I drink lots of water, and then maybe 3 hours later, I'll make some fresh coffee. But as I'm doing that, I go outside and I get that sun, and I do breath work, and I do more stretching outside, and I either tune into some scripture or some really good music.
Mm-hmm.
Just acknowledging that that my temple needs a good frequency to start the day off, because I don't want to get myself into that negative. Oh yeah, and I also do a nice shower every day as well. And then at the end of the day, I like to soak in a nice warm bath as well.
Have you ever heard of the Huberman method? And that is probably the big thing was taking a cold shower. Like, it has a whole thing. Like, you wake up, you drink water, you go outside, you do 90 minutes of work, then you do 30 minutes of exercise, and then you can eat. And then after you eat, you go take the cold shower. And I remember, like, I did it for a while, but it was always the cold shower was the hardest part of that for me.
I've never done the cold shower part, but I do make sure that I go out there with shorts and a t-shirt on in the morning and do that type of cold. But I like a warm shower to help relax my muscles and stuff like that from the stiffness of being in bed so many hours. But I'm sure that there is some great connections to doing the cold.
Hey, Wizard.
How you girls doing?
Pretty good. And yourself?
I am well. I dropped a link to a video that I did a while back, and it goes to this part about strengthening your mind. Is I told you that's what my profiles are about. Is a journal to the public. I'm an open book, right? And we had our issues in the beginning, and we've been through those difficulties, and it's part of strengthening our minds as well as relationships with others, because we learn how to communicate with those. And that's the part about that growing. You know, even though we go through the bullshit, it's one of the things I speak about Jack, you know, with all the bullshit and animosity we've had towards each other, if we actually become good friends, it'll be one of the most solid relationships there would be. And that's because you go through those trials and tribulations.
They do strengthen you. Let's go ahead and play it. And then I'll put the link also down in the chat.
Yeah, and this is something I made. You said something about Clipchamp. So I made it with Clipchamp, and I know you'll see the humor in it. And I don't know if it's so much important to start it right away, but the 3 minute 15 second mark is where it actually starts. And then you got to watch it to the end, to the credits at the end, because that hopefully that'll show you how I tie everything together as this journal I'm telling you about.
And see, these are like our YouTube channel is a journal as well. NPC talks about how he does that for his son, and my sons watch the channel, but they're always like, "What are you doing today?"
That's how I do mine as well. I try to change my notes from my journaling and use it here with images and stuff as well. But that's how I see it as a digital journal.
But I want people to, because like I think even though, yes, obviously our children will see it, but there are others that are going to wonder, what was life like in 2025? You know, what struggles were they going through? A lot of times we can tend to look back at the past and romanticize it, but I'm quite sure there were these same type of issues going on then, if not more so than there is now.
Oh yeah, it's part of the socialism of society, and even further back than just 2025. You know, what were we doing then? Back in 2015, I was already doing videos regularly. It just wasn't. They didn't have panels back then. So as the technology changes, so does that quote journal. And you know, this is part of it. Is, you know, my part of the story on this internet. A lot of people see what's not in that journal because of my activities and my angry old man stuff on the panels. So again, that journal part is just my portrayal of myself that I want people to see. But people have seen those other sides of me. And that's why I say I've got to be that open book. So again, hopefully people see that growth that we're talking about, because I hope I imbue that in my life, and people see that.
Well, I'd like to say too, Keith, I recognize your growth, but I'm also not in a position that I want to be one of those people that wants to stay stuck in the past and keep on holding you accountable for past actions. I'd rather see, hold on to the growth and look forward to more growth in all of us, because
absolutely,
I don't need to stay stuck in that past. A lot of people get stuck there.
Yep. Yeah, I've said many times it's saddening to see our younger generations walking out of high school and not picking up another book.
Absolutely. And
I like that. Yeah.
I think I like when you were talking, like, so many people get stuck in the past. Like, so one day we're going to need to talk about the art of letting go. There was the other day I was on the panel with Flow State, and somebody who I had a situation with 4 years ago popped up, and I had completely I forgot about him. I forgot about the situation. I forgot about everything that we had going on. I had completely moved on and forgot about it. And he remembered every single piece of it. And I thought, wow, bro, you need to let it go.
You know, the hardest part about grieving the loss of a loved one is not one that passes on, but one that remains alive.
See, you're absolutely right. And what I learned a long time ago is it's okay to love somebody from a distance. And just because you're not in their life every day does not mean I still can't pray for them. Doesn't mean I still can't speak good of them. And I think sometimes when people think of love, they think you have to be in my presence. I have to be able to talk to you anytime I want, and that it's okay to love people from afar. But learn to recognize when something's not good for you and let it go. Like, release it and let it go where it needs to go. Welcome. Hey, Joe, good to see you. Blow our minds tonight, Cynthia. I need a distraction. Well, we're about to watch a video from Wizard that's going to blow our minds. Hold, please. Let me get a banner over before I... Can I get a mic check, Chica?
Hola.
Oh my gosh, it's the real Bexicita. I didn't know, because they be coming up here like my friends. They be coming up here acting like they're my friends, and the next thing I know, I'm looking up nasty parts. Welcome, Bex. How are you today? I'm good. Happy to see you.
Thank you. Happy to see you as well. Good to see you all on panel and in chat.
Awesome. Someone was asking about you earlier in the chat, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they were like, is Bex here? So, yes, Bex is here. We're getting
your mic is just a little low.
Oh, here, just that.
Oh, Wizard, what link do you want me to drop for you? If you put it in the back chat, I'll make sure to drop it. Somebody's asking for your link.
All right.
And then let me put this as well. This is the video that we are watching.
Well, that'll be the link itself.
Oh, okay. Well, then let me drop that right here for everybody. All right. Do you want to add anything, Bex, before we started the video?
No, that's great.
Okay.
I'm ready. I've been listening.
Okay. That does look like you, bro.
Chinchilla.
100 people will watch because it's you people talking. I talk, thousands watch. You talk, 100 watch. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was up here. I was backstage restreaming. Fuck slaves, I do thousands of hours of broadcasting a year. You fuck slaves come on for 20 minutes to an hour every few days. Stop comparing us. It's a whole different format. It's a whole different energy and experience. It's a whole different structure, a presentment, idea, the whole 9, right? I don't have a formalized official broadcast where I'm the expert bringing on a guest to reveal the truth of how to save everyone from themselves. Different format. Dude, do you realize we never got to breaking slave news with all this nonsense? All right, give me the final word. I'm out of here. We'll be back tomorrow, as always, 7 days a week, 1 p.m. DT, on or about, if not around 2, somewhere in that area.
Look at you, wizard.
And remember, this silent bit on bit was one of the best bits there's ever been, and it had that man smiling and laughing like a little boy. And I'm still picking up some sign language here and there. Not as much as I'd like, but once I get time to devote to it, I'll learn some more.
It's a bit.
Hey, dumbass.
Cage. Was that Cage?
Nope, not Cage.
Oh.
This is where it all began, baby.
This experience I'm living, I'm doing my best to explain.
Where's Jesse? Jesse's gone. I wanted him to see baby Hitler over here and see how he thinks about him.
Jesse's gone.
Why are they calling you baby Hitler?
Who do you think is baby Hitler? Take one guess of the people on the panel. Oh, God. What is Senator Shortbus? Heckle Bus is your baby daddy?
Mm-hmm.
How's your energy doing, Jack?
That's fucked up.
What?
I sent him, she asked for his link, and then I was like, sure, I'll get it to you. And I didn't get it to her. And then she texts me and she's like, I really want that link. And I sent it to her, Flo. So who's going live next? Because I feel like
Blessings and grace. Charlie Chapchin, blessings and grace. Who'd have thought little Paulie boy from the short bus and the special ed class.
Man, you look so much healthier, Wizard. Like, we could sit here and we could, like, when you are truly taking care of your mind, your body will show.
On drugs.
Absolutely.
Never really a steady friend group, if you could imagine that. Always moving around different school districts, and I don't play well with others. Is
Me either, Paul.
Rap that I've gotten. That's what they tell me. From humble, torturous, suffering beginnings to blessings and grace, consciousness, awareness, discernment, unconditional love with conditional trust and respect, of course. Almost has to be that way. But it feels good to be me at this time. Can't stress that enough to remind myself, thankful and grateful. Stay faithful. Stay the course. Stay in your purpose and meaning. Stay disciplined in the sense of not just giving who and what you are away needlessly. Needy and wanton, codependent, attached. We nurture this power, this peace, this inspiration within self, and we give that away. Here, day to day, there has to be a bit of a isolation.
I agree.
Yeah, and that's the isolation is you got to get away from this internet for a while and have your own time.
Mm-hmm. The alone time. A lot of people can't spend time alone. That has always amazed me. People who cannot sit home alone.
Yep. And hey, guys, make sure you hit that Hitler that button. I mean, yeah, hit that button.
Awesome.
Famous silent. movie.
Do you see what they're doing though, Paul? They're such terrible.
Do you see what they're doing?
Do you see what they're doing though, Paul? Do you see what they're doing though, Paul? Do you see what they're doing though, Paul?
So I'll never do a bit or be part of a bit. He's been doing this for 3 days.
You see, he was giggling and laughing like a little boy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it'll be nice to you guys crack us up. You know,
Do it.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I turned it down for you.
No, I just think it's really interesting to see the dynamics that all of us are pretty much saying the same things to one another to help us be better people. In terms of conversation, anyways, and how to do better at communication. So,
I really think laughter is such a healing thing. I don't know how it is, but if you can laugh at yourself, I mean, it's not good to laugh at others, but learn to laugh at yourself and make people laugh. It's such a like.
Well, that's one of the points of this particular bit on bit. When I decided I didn't want to be part of those bit on bits, is because I recognize those bit on bits as trying to tear people down, then wanting to try to build them up. No, I don't see it that way.
Y'all remember Gilda Radner from Saturday Night Live? I loved her. I absolutely loved her. And I was watching a documentary, and of course, when she was fighting her own battle with cancer, she said that the thing that healed her was going back and watching all of her old Saturday Night Live episodes. And I thought how beautiful that is, that you can create content, that you can put something out there that not only heals others, but will heal yourself as well. Max Extreme, I can't believe you're here. All the commotion you've
Yes, I'll never do a bit or be part of a bit. He's been doing this for 3 days. For 3 days, he's been doing this.
B-Dog was asking how the adoption process works.
I want to go ahead and put it on pause for a second.
See how that works?
Snafu's about to get adopted.
Good Lord.
Wow.
Well, that's kind of interesting that you laid, that's where you ended, because Bex is up here, and Bex has been such a great source of laughter for all of us. It's been so healing to have Bex's laughter and her sense of humor around. I'm thankful for that.
Well, yeah, you're an actual comedian that's been on stage, haven't you, Bex?
Yeah. Yes, I have.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a lot of fun. And I appreciate you showing those clips, and I'm not out here cupcaking in any way, but I'll be consistent and in the praise that I have. Like playing that clip, Wiz, reminds me of how much fun that panel was.
Yes.
Right. Like the calm, as much as the audience, could go around from all the lineup at that time and be in places thinking that whatever the audience was perceiving, that room is one of the calmest rooms out here to sit in. It's fun. It's just fun. It's one of the funnest. So for me, again, we all have subjective experiences. I'm probably going to be accused of towing an agenda, being a cult member.
Yeah, not by me, because I have to agree with you. Why do you think I was up on that panel so fucking long?
Yeah. Yeah. So good on you. Great example of showing, sort of that rewiring that, as a group, right? That plasticity, that ability to,
that resilience that we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Resilience means to rebound. And so what it implies is that you lost a bond and now you're going back to that bond.
Mm-hmm.
I like looking back at the past because it also shows you how far you've grown, how much you've grown.
Well, it's even interesting looking back at that time with those panels, and I guess in comparison to now, what Paul does with his channel is that it's him. So you even see the growth and awareness of different things that he shared with people in comparison to what he is now.
Mm-hmm.
And how that toxic, all that arguing that was going on for a while wasn't well for him, but particularly not well for the audience either, because it's a ripple effect of behavior amongst all of us. So if there is the humor, if there is the positivity too, that helps to balance things out. But day after day after day of that is not good for anybody.
Yeah, and that was part of the reason why I told him I wasn't going to be a part of that bit on bit. I'm already in bad health. I already know I'm an angry old man. I already understand it's because of a mental condition as well as my health condition. And so in order to help me overcome it, I have to stick to certain goals. And that's absolutely against one of my main goals, is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If I need any tearing down, it should be done in a manner that's a little bit more pleasant and not so damn fucking hostile. Excuse my language.
And that's a big awareness coming from you too, Keith.
Okay, let's get back.
Yeah, the guy that boasts about walking around with a shovel.
No, I remember did you walk around with a bag on your head? I remember something. What was it?
There was a time where I decided I was going to be antisocial because I dislike people so much that if I really had to go out to the mall or something out in public in a mass place, I would take an empty sack with me and I would just open that sack in public and I would talk to it. And people would do this. They would go around me.
Yeah.
When my sons were in middle school, I used to take them to the mall and push them out of the car and make them go to the movies by themselves or go out to eat by themselves. Like I was like, you have got to learn to be by yourself. What does it say? Wizard is kind of straight out of darkness. I love it. That's great. Oh, do I have this up here? Please. No.
Yeah, who in the back?
Moose.
Remember Ian?
Tell a friend to come to mouth. Oh wait, it better not be a Luna Tommy or fucking Flow State or one of them host state.
All right, Snafu Snaps. Maybe at some point, I mean, I can't even imagine that I would even entertain this idea. I'm a glutton for punishment. We'll have to see what your skills and abilities are and what your willingness is. Presuming you're not creating any value to get the things you need in the meantime. We may have to take care of Snafu Snaps, Charlie Chapchin. I take care of him. I mean, give him a piece of land and a tent and tell him, you know, well wishes, right? Best of luck. Whatever you can come up with and create or co-create, whatever you can be involved in. We know we were not going to put him on hash oil detail. That didn't go well last time.
It's good to see him laugh.
It is. It's healing.
Yeah.
You're always going to sleep, Wizard.
That's back when I was still
man,
sitting on the couch with
silent
cancer.
It's quite a sight to behold. The confusion of the folks who lack discernment. As if, you know.
You know what though? It's the person behind that character. I know the person playing.
Here you go.
And I know that brick wall, and that's why I don't bring her up.
Playing.
So you could understand that.
Yeah, I think that's it. Can't separate the character from Wizard.
Well,
because I still see Wizard.
You don't understand how much this character was so anti-American and so anti-system.
Point and nod, Wizard. Shake it, like give the big nod while he says that.
I mean, there's a reason why Wizard reflects and resonates with this character. It's not just a dumb, like, I picked this character, I picked this hair. It's this is Wizard at full Wizard, but good Wizard. Appreciate it and really enjoy it.
But when he ends it, he has to slick that hair.
Oh, look, I'm even in that chat that day. So that's on Jack's stream. Okay.
Hair over and do the full spear hand. Hello.
No, this
like,
is his
end it on
metaverse.
full
This is it,
camera.
Tommy. He's stuck. We know him as the Wizard is dying, is dead today. Wizard,
No, your Wizard is reborn.
Oh, thank you.
Huh?
But if you start off a cartoon character, you end up a cartoon character.
That's what he wants.
See, I acknowledged it for what it was.
I don't know, is one that I just distasted. Like I don't.
And you embrace change.
And I don't like it, and so I'm not gonna like any other character he plays.
And that's why I don't let you up, Cynthia. You got it now.
Tell me
See what progress Wizard is facilitating?
in my next video. You're gonna be in the streets.
I can't stand Tommy.
Yeah, he's kind of an idiot.
I'm calling shots when he screams.
Just remember that.
I like how every one of your people were a different.
I was just gonna say that.
Sound stage, like every one of your characters had a role to play.
Way to incorporate the multiple personalities.
See, and that's what I think people need to comprehend is that you have what's known as potentiary powers. In the political realm, they call it plenipotentiary. In other words, you're able to take care of all of your own tasks. You can be your own producer. You can be your own director. You can be your own soundstage. You can be your own actors.
I'm my own hype man.
And so in that, when you hear this psychology thing about personality disorder, people have to comprehend you have multiple personalities already. You just have to know how to put them in order. Are you going to be the dad first and protect your mother, your wife and children, despite the fact that you're currently a boss? In other words, while you're wearing that boss hat in the personality of a boss, are you going to fuck up your job and not be able to produce and protect for your woman and child? Or do you have to be a legitimate boss in good faith and fair dealings to make sure you maintain that employment?
Mm-hmm. The situation I have is like sometimes people get lost in being that other character. They don't know how to turn it off. And for me, in my experience on YouTube in particularly, that's the hardest thing is I meet people who have a lot of different characters, and me being me, it throws me off balance. I don't know how to deal with multiple characters in one person.
And that's why it's so hard to deal with police. It's the same situation there. Do you think they really have a high degree for being a cop and wearing that policeman uniform and hat if at the end of the day, the base principle and foundation is that he still has to protect and provide? His job as an officer isn't as a boss. It's to make as much as he can, and he's got easy targets to do so.
One of my former boss's husband was a police officer, and there was a day when all of the women, we were all going at it, and he came in to help supposedly equalize it, but he came in as a cop and like an enforcement. And I recognized that, and I asked him, why we don't need you to be here to enforce us. If you want to come here and be a different point of view as a man, I can appreciate that, but I'm not asking to be arrested. And I said, what happens to you in your mind when you go into that mode? And he had said to me, we're trained to not trust anybody. I don't see you as a person, and I don't trust you. And as soon as he said that to me, I made sure to disengage and I left. Because I don't want to be having a conversation with somebody that is practically telling me that they are mind swiped and they go into a different mode like that. Then I'm not really dealing with somebody at a capacity that is going to be beneficial to me.
Yeah, that's a dismissal of the good faith and fair dealings I was talking about. And that's the principle I base every relationship I have on. If I can't see that you're doing things in good faith and fair dealings, I don't want anything to do with you.
I guess we lost Bex. Bye, Bex. I hope you're okay. People really go into those characters for we hear about actors who go into it. And I think this is a great defense mechanism. I mean, but however, I think it can also be harmful to oneself if they don't balance themselves back out.
Well, let's use these celebrities as an example. When Britney Spears did her thing, when she shaved her head, like when Amanda Bynes got arrested and showed up into court with those wigs and sunglasses and stuff, you could see those people really suffering in their mind on who they really were.
Mm-hmm.
We were crashing out.
It's always good to have always keep someone around. Like I have friends from middle school just so they can always remind me of the stupid things I did whenever I start thinking I'm too big for my britches, as my daddy would say.
Yeah, my cousins and my siblings are good for that.
I know Wizard, I forget what panel we were on, but I know that you were showing us pictures of the mushrooms and how you spent time out in the wilderness. I want to say it was for months, correct?
Yeah, I was up in the Appalachian Mountains for 7 months in a tent.
In that solo time, could you pinpoint something that you thought was your best healing? Would it be nature? Was it the solitude? Was it the animals?
The realization at one point, I hiked a lot of trails up cliffs and stuff, and there was one called Frankenstein's Cliff. And it was the most extraordinary place that I'd seen, because once I got to it, it was the epitome of being on top of the world. You ever see a movie where they show a scene of off in the distance of a man, and he's kind of tiny, but the rest of the world around is humongous mountains, and he's on the very top peak of the top one.
You have a picture, didn't you? I've
He's
seen
got a video. Yeah, I've seen
Yeah,
that
I've
video.
seen that.
Yeah, that's the beginning. That's my intro video. And when you look out and around at the rest of the mountains and stuff, you know that you're exactly where you're meant to be. No matter where you're at, on top of the mountain or down in the valley, the world around you is yours. I also did a video that says, talking about homeless. How could anyone actually be homeless if they really took into consideration that this is your home? This is what you have dominion on. And that brings every issue in your life to a matter of necessity of life and not a commercial event. A lot of people lose these homes through mortgage fraud. And that's one of the reasons I do what I do with this law research. It all comes down to the definitions and stuff. And when
I was just going to recognize that. That's what you gentlemen have been trying to show us, the legal lawful, and what the difference is in that language.
Yeah, and when you get on top of the world like that, there's no one else that can change the definition of who or what you are. That's when I realized I wasn't that noun. I wasn't the man on the very top of the peak. I was a living soul, and I was up there breathing some of the best air you could have, and realizing how important I was, even in my minuscule part, to this world, because it's made for me. It's made for you. That's what the dominion is about. It was specifically made for mankind.
What changes in coming back from living alone in isolation for 7 months? What changes did you notice in yourself, and what changes did your partner notice in you? And were they the same?
I had always looked at myself as one that would stand up to the law, but notice again, I had 93 cases, so I didn't do a very good fucking job. My last case was done and over with, and I'd served the sentence and everything and walked away from everything and told them to come get me. You know, that's when they had that protection order out on me. And when I got back to town and found out they'd renewed the protection order, you know, that was after the point of reaching Frankenstein's Cliff and realizing I can't let anybody define me anymore. And that's when I don't stand down from anybody anymore, period.
I feel you. But I like that. Don't let others define who you are. And if they do, don't believe them. And the changes that your significant other saw in you?
She just like a lot of people on this internet saw the angry old man. She saw that angry old man, but now she saw the purpose behind the anger.
If I ask you anything you don't want to answer, please feel free to tell me. You've spoken in your past about your situations of adoption and your experience with your birth mother. I assume from that there was trauma. How old were you when you realized I need to deal with this trauma, and how did you Was it the isolation, or was there a combination of things?
Well, yeah, there's all kinds of combinations. And when it comes to the isolation, even though I wasn't actually, quote, isolated, there was an isolation aspect in that I was a child of 4 brothers and sisters, me being the middle child, making 5. So my dad came from a large family, German background, 13 brothers and sisters. My mom came from a Scottish background, another family with a large family. Had 7 brothers and sisters, so we had 8 and 14. And out of 22 aunts and uncles, not a one of us took any of us in. So the adoption system at that time, being new and everything, understand this is the adoption system just started in the 60s. And otherwise, before that, it was done by family members. But now that it's something that was provided by the state, people feel obliged to go ahead and let that responsibility ride on the state, because even taking in your brother's children taxes you even more than what you already are. So it's not likely that people do that. And this is the failure of this Christian church. When I turned 15 and I realized all of this, and came to that realization, wait a minute, why didn't one of my aunts and uncles adopt us? And it just, that's one of the main profound reasons why I do everything I'm doing. I've spent my entire life telling people, fuck you, you ain't my daddy. Somehow, something in my heart was telling me something's better. There's something wrong here. Don't do it, whatever it was. So when it comes to the trauma, it's like I said earlier, detaching from the family while they're still alive, losing your lost ones while you're still alive. That's one of the hardest parts. And that's the destruction of that spiritual part of the child.
Do you look at it back now, and do you realize, like you were saying, it's better for you? Do you think that, are you proud of the man you are and realize that journey brought you here?
Absolutely. If I'd have been spoon fed, I'd probably remain one of the bitch ass slaves. It's only because of the things that I've been through that I understand the concept of that identity, know thyself. And again, like I said, I'll stand down to no man. Show me where I have to have an identification. Now, let's put it this way. As it relates to roots, Kunta Kinte and Toby Kunta Kinte wouldn't take on that name Toby.
Right.
So it's an interesting aspect, and Joe Cool might come up on this. He was on the panel the other night, last night or the night before, when I was talking about it. Was the N-word, hard R or not, culturally appropriated by Black people? And understand, I ask this because wasn't the white people the ones that created the word and then started calling them that? Isn't that the noun that they started using for those people? Like I said, I'm not the noun. That's why I don't let anybody bother me with their ad hominems. I understand I am the adjective, the living soul. So they can talk about my character all they want.
Very insightful. How old were you? Was this in your youth, your 20s, your 30s?
For what? That particular with the what?
The isolation and just the beginning of realizing that you need to that nobody's going to define you.
Yeah, that was when I was 15, and interestingly enough, my adoptive mom, that's when they kicked me out because I decided I was going to quit the church. And one of the issues was that she didn't understand my behavior, which maybe I didn't either, but she accused me of being immature like the friends I hang out with. So, and of course, me understanding and coming to the realization of that, these people really don't care for me.
Man.
I told her I wasn't going to go to church. It wasn't up to her anymore. You're not going to make me go to church, particularly when the people that you want me not to hang around with are the ones that I'm going to be going to church with. And she says, "Oh, yeah, you will go to church." And I chuckled and said, "No, I won't." She smacked me. When she raised her hand to smack me again, I tackled her. I've already been through enough abuse. As a woman that says you love me and you're going to sit there and smack me around just like they did? No, you don't love me. You love the ability to raise a child up and have other people look at you and say you did a good job. And understand, folks, the reason they adopted us, me and my two younger sisters, was because they were told that they couldn't have children by a doctor that took a Hippocratic oath to Apollo and the Greek gods. And I'll be damned if God didn't say otherwise and gave them a child just shortly after they adopted us three without adopting my two older brother and sister. So my family was still isolated.
Is your family close now? Like your siblings? Are y'all close now?
Not at all. I haven't. My family disowned me shortly before my last court case because they thought I went nuts. I told them I wasn't going to stand down anymore. I told them I'm going to do this. And that's when my mom looked at me and said, "Keith, the police are your authority."
Do you envision the day that y'all will be connected again?
Well, interestingly enough, I've always reached out and sent them little messages on birthdays and stuff, happy birthday. No other holiday, but just their birthday. I would, let them know I remember and, that's it. Well, my sister contacted me. My brother is doing life in prison in California for double murder. And he wants to write back here to us consistently. I haven't communicated with him in 30 years because I understood he's not what I want, even as a brother. I can't blame him for it, but I can't fix him either. So I have to accept him for what he is, and I can't accept him in my life, particularly if he's sitting in prison for murder. I really don't want anything to do with him. And so detachment in my life to the people that supposedly love me and that I was supposed to love has been very easy. The hardest one was my son, obviously, but even that, even as hard as it was, it doesn't affect me the way that you might think today. I'm not going to sit here and cry about it. I understand, and this is one of the precepts why another spiritual change was, in order to try to grow myself, I look for the positive aspects in other people. And there was a time that I understood, like going to the mall and looking into a sack, I was not satisfied. So I had this rather odd look on my face all the time, and I wanted to learn how to smile. So I started trying to imitate everybody's smile. And that's all it took.
It's interesting you say that because I had to learn how to smile too. I didn't realize, I just thought that was natural. But when I saw a dentist teaching another person how to smile, I asked them to teach me too. And then I thought about it. I was like, you really have to learn how to smile. And I think these are little things that people don't even realize. They think there's something wrong with them because they don't smile. We don't talk about we were taught to smile. Bex, Yolanda, do y'all have anything?
Well, talking about the smile, I look back at the different stages of my life through those childhood school pictures and knowing exactly what that smile, what I was going through based on that smile and those photos.
Bex, I would love to hear anything you would have.
Thank you. Hopefully my phone doesn't cut out in the middle of this. I'm at 1%. So And I did get a little distracted for the last 10 minutes trying to get back here. So I might be a few minutes behind.
You're right on time.
Oh, thank you. I mean, in terms of jumping in on the conversation, I missed the end. No, I didn't miss the end of the video, but I cut it right thereafter. Anyways, yeah, I just we're talking about smiling, and
or how you got over childhood trauma, or what
strengthening your mind.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, or even having that strength of mind to begin with, you know, like when you were telling your story of your mom and her discipline, I can remember my mom telling stories of, you know, of like going to spank our bum on the way up the stairs. Like, I don't remember my household being a spanking household. I don't remember there being punitive punishment in schools. But I also know that if there was, I would have done everything to stay away from being hit, right? So, and I know that that's not necessarily possible in abusive environments. But my mom was a threatener. So I always have told the story, like, oh, in my household, like, I think my brother got spanked once and that was enough of a threat for all of us. But I could also have repressed memories of a culture that actually really did just run around smacking us all on the head, because that's what the 70s were, right? We did get hit and corrected. And so yeah, my point is that my mom tells a story of, you know, hitting my butt on the way up the stairs, you know, like she would, and hard, sending people to their room. And since I was small enough to be hit and sent up to my room without being carried up, which normally doesn't happen, that kind of discipline, my mom said I would turn around and raise my hand to hit right back at her, right? Like there was no fear. There was no sense of, you know, of instant, instant understanding of why I might be being corrected, right? So yeah, I don't, yeah, I think that my character, you know, my personality is to stand up to that kind of mistreatment, regardless of social hierarchy and roles. And the stories go back to as far as me being 2 years old. But my nature is to move forward with the best of memories, and people could call it toxic positivity, but I'm a deep ruminator, actually. I think about things for a very long time and think and do struggle letting go of some things. But I also know that, you know, my nature is to see the best and hope for the best outcome in any situation. And in essence, whether I'm having an over emotional reaction and nullifying my emotions through rage or upset, or whether somebody else is doing that and my nature is to look for the best in the situation, I will forget. I actually will forget what has been done to me. And I think that makes forgiveness easy. You know, I've got enough of those deep grooves that Yolanda was talking about in the beginning of the program, like the forest, you know, the walk through path. Like, I mean, fuck, my grooves are so deep, I can just like pack shit in there. Be like, oh, you want to think about something for 4 years or 8 years or 16 years or 2 months? You know, I got paths that will take those things and sit on them for ages. And I appreciate those. If that was mental unwellness, that gave me those pathways, then I'm grateful to have learned how to work with them and not even necessarily like heal them all, but fill them with what I choose to think about, you know? Anyways, end monologue, and still holding at 1%, friends. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much. First of all, thank both of you for sharing the stories. Yolanda, did you have anything to add?
I just was thinking of when Keith was talking about when he got spanked and when Bex got spanked, and the difference in terms of trauma response and remembering how the adults were in my life when I was younger. And when I was a child, I was the one that it took once, maybe twice, for me to get punished, and I didn't want that same punishment again. My sister was the opposite. My sister would get smacked with the wooden spoon and turn around and laugh at my aunt when she did it. And I was always confused, like, why would you do that? It's going to make it worse for you. But listening to these other stories, you know, like my sister had that type of defiance and resilience in her when she was younger. And when I finally became defiant and resilient was when I was a teenager. And my dad was so angry at me over a family argument and my truth that he smacked me. I think I was 17 years old. He smacked me with the force of a man hitting another man. And I almost passed out from how intense the hit was across my face. And when I came to, I looked at him, and at that point, it was that moment for me when I had said, I am not taking anything from any of you anymore, ever again. And I moved out at 17. So just interesting, the mental resilience that I didn't recognize that I had at that time, but being reminded of it, listening to Keith and to Bex just now, that I had those tools at the time, but I had completely suppressed them, and just remembering them now. But I'm glad where I'm at now, like Bex was saying earlier, my roots are deep rooted. Those paths are long and deep. And I am thankful for my journey and where I'm at today.
Thank you for sharing. The one thing that kind of I see in all of our stories is that at some point we all went through this spiritual battle. I want to remind the audience and others who watch later that sometimes when you see a person that you think is strong, or they're so brave, or they're so resilient, nobody becomes that strong without being in battles. And sometimes it's hard to see battles as a good thing, to see them as something that is necessary for our growth and our wisdom. And like Marcus Aurelio was saying earlier, it's only our interpretation that does define it as tragic or bad. I want, if you take anything away from the stream tonight, I want you to start realizing that things don't happen to you, that they happen for you. And perhaps this could help you start with your healing journey, whomever you may be.
Yeah, and remember, it is that mindset, because the thought that went through my head when I was diagnosed with cancer wasn't oh my God, I'm going to die. Not at all.
Oh.
I remained in the mindset that I know cancer can be beat, so I'm just going to do what I do and do my research.
I prepared for death. I prepared for death. What does that say? What is that? I'm sorry. Is that ganja?
Nope. Duramectin. It's an ivermectin paste.
What's that?
Today they use it for many things. Many people confuse it as a veterinary medication, when in fact it's also used on people for scabies.
I've had that before.
And so you can take ivermectin, and they found that it crosses medicinal properties, and they believe it will help you be cancer free.
Well, they didn't give me anything like that. I just suffered.
We'll talk about that behind the scenes, Cynthia, because I'm being very careful right now. But yes, let's have a conversation about that.
About the medicine or the scabies?
Yes, about the medicine, not the scabies, girl, not the scabies.
Girl, I don't even want to remember that time. And then when he said, like, oh, that came back in my head. All right, well then I will make sure to Bex left. Thank you so much, Bex, for coming in, but it happened to end right at time. As you audience knows, Yolanda and I only like to go 2 hours. That is the boundaries we have set for our show and for our balance. I first and foremost want to appreciate Wizard and Bex for coming up. Wizard, before I put you backstage, do you have any final words?
I just dropped a link in the back chat. That's a veterinary guy that uses ivermectin, and he's got a dosage and everything for dogs. You can just kind of upgrade that dosage if that's something that you're thinking about. And again, do your own research.
Don't let anybody find you. All right, I'm putting you backstage. Just stay right there. You're going backstage, okay? Awesome, Yolanda. I can't believe it. Girl, do you know we've done this for 3 months now?
What? 3 months?
Yes, because we're episode 11, and we missed that 1 week with technical difficulties.
Yes. Wow. Then I'm impressed.
We've done it quarterly. We have finished a quarter of our agenda of building our podcast and bringing in awareness and conversations that promote healing. So thank you for taking this journey with me, Yolanda, and thank you for taking it with me, audience. Do you have any final words before I put you backstage?
Let me see here. Do I have any final words? Let me think. Just a reminder, resilience isn't about breaking. It's about learning how to rebuild stronger, wiser, and let me think, with deeper compassion for ourselves and others. So thank you for reminding us and bringing us to the awareness of resilience.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I love how our topics like somehow always come together from real life experiences, but it always gives me a good foundation for where I need to continue on with my journey. So thank you.
Same here. Thank you. Have a good night.
Wow, audience. I can't believe we're down episode 11. It's amazing. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and I hope you hit the like button as well. And just to recap, I want you to strengthen your mind, to remember to be aware of yourself, to be in the present moment. Don't hesitate to spend time alone. I'm trying to fumble through my notes here. Set boundaries, and listen, this is for myself. I've learned how to say no. And at first I'd be like, no, I can't help you today because I'm so overwhelmed with da 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 da, and it's gonna throw me off. And it's now to the point, hey, do you think you can do da da this weekend? No. And they're like, wow, but don't be afraid to say no. Please put yourself first. Watch your inner dialogue. Replace I can't with I am. Learning, and like Yolanda suggested, every effort is bringing me closer to growth. Nurture your mind. Spend time in solitude. I'm not saying go spend a whole entire evening alone if you've never been alone. Start with 5 minutes. Be aware of reading for 5 minutes. Me personally, I like to do Sudokus. Surround yourself with voices that can elevate. Make sure y'all turn on the notification so Wednesday nights you can tune in to Cynthia and Yolanda. Embrace discomfort. This is the one that I notice a lot of people have a harder time with. And I myself one time had been in that as well. However, when I look at something that's discomforting, you never know what's on the other side and how beautiful it can be. And the one advice that I liked most from Wizard is he doesn't let anybody define you. And I say that as well. Don't let anybody tell you who you are and who you are not. Take the time to know yourself. Take the time to love on yourself and appreciate yourself. Because if you are alive, On July 2nd, 2025, you are a survivor. And I want you to look at yourself and see yourself in that light as a survivor. Now, we all know who I love to go out with on moments like this.
A couple reasons I wanted to come to you tonight. You all are the age of being my children. And I want to talk to you as a parent maybe has never talked to you before. You were only here once. God has bestowed you with life. He could have made you a rose that lasted 7 days or a butterfly that only lasted 3 weeks. But he chose to give you the highest form of life, that of being a human being. And with that, he gave you goals and dreams. And I'm here to tell you, and I don't really know you, but there's no one in here who can achieve health and who cannot achieve success.
Wise words indeed from a man who just wanted the best from everyone. I hope that you see yourselves as that and understand you were made for a purpose. Thank you again for tuning in this evening, and I look forward to seeing you guys again next week.